morning, everybody, or afternoon actually, it's 2:20. We finished last week with one of the Stravaganza Concerti, number 12 in G. Interesting title mark at the beginning, Spiritoso e non presto. It's kind of a tempo mark you sort of find in earlier Vivaldi concerti. It's an interesting one. The second movement in particular reminds me very much of the slow movement to the ninth concerto from Leicester on Monaco. I do wonder whether this concerto might possibly have been composed earlier than the publication of Opus 4. So that's that. Number 12 done. It's a good piece. I think we'll probably give it an Ade rating of 8. I think we'll give it 8. Lots of sort of fast, tricky solo passages. Well, tricky for early 1700s. Nothing like the technical virtuosity required from his later concerti. However, okay. So moving on, we've done G major. Next comes G minor. Now, the first concerto in the G minor concertos in the catalogue is actually Summer, and I'm going to leave the seasons for a bit because, well, we've done them, we've recorded them, and maybe I'll go back and do a proper edition at some point. But I think we've got I think we all know how those go. So the next G minor concerto in the catalogue is actually, funnily enough, another concerto from Stravaganza. This one is number 6 in the set. It's a very, very beautiful one in G minor. It's got some interesting things. For instance, in the opening tutti, the first violin splits with the first ripieno violin, something that we've seen once before in an D minor concerto 235 so far. Other things like the appearance of extra little solos for for ripieno violins. And also viola. One of the things I was talking about last week was the forces that Vivaldi might have had to work with when playing his concertos. I think probably the greater part, certainly of his violin concertos, were written either for the Pietà or for theatrical purposes as on-track concertos to be played between the acts of operatic performances. As such, I think Vivaldi would have expected a larger string band than one to a part. Certainly one of the directions in one of the scores we found last week mentioned violini primi and secondi, i.e. plural violins. Here, in the Opus 4, it's interesting that in the little solos that come in the first violin and the second violin part, there's the second violin part, I haven't actually put solo, I need to do that. Vivaldi designates them as solo, but he doesn't do it with a viola in the same instance. I do wonder whether Vivaldi might have expected, therefore, to have a relatively small band, but with more than one tutti violin 1 and tutti violin 2 part, but just one viola, possibly. I think it's possible, again, that this was written before the publication date of Stravaganza, possibly written for church purposes, maybe. I can see why Bach chose this concerto to arrange it for keyboard. Interestingly, the Bach version of this concerto contains a different finale, and I do wonder whether maybe it was a manuscript that Pisendel had taken back from Venice, maybe having copied it from Vivaldi's stash. For instance, the concerto we were looking at the end of last week, there is a Pisendel manuscript for that piece, which also has some sketches for different ornamentation and things like that. So maybe we'll get a chance to look at that at some point. So we're just going to give you a blast of the tutti. there you go. So that's Opus 4, number 6. I should just mention that it's General Manager Camilla's birthday today. She's 21 again, so if you want to leave any messages of happy birthday, feel free to do so. And even better, if you want to donate to our crowdfund, would be great, because all musicians have lost their jobs pretty much for the rest of the year by the looks of it. So yeah, all looking great. Anyway, see you tomorrow with another concerto. Bye.